Imagine showing up to work and instead of going to meetings and answering emails, you're facilitating one of the most intense and possibly life-changing experience. So what is it like to facilitate ayahuasca ceremonies? And why does everybody need to drink ayahuasca? Who's the sober person in charge then? And all of this you will find in this video. I think the first thing to remember is the level of responsibility one has. It's not about an ego thing, as in like I'm a medicine giver or I work with ayahuasca or whatever, but being aware that people are in very sensitive states, people are in very open states, and having that level of respect and concentration and care for it. And also knowing that whenever I'm facilitating a ceremony, doesn't matter if I'm tired or this or that, if I choose to sit with the medicine to facilitate in that ceremony, that responsibility is there and one has to be concentrated throughout the process. So what are the requirements to be an ayahuasca facilitator? I guess the first one, I remember when I talked with Sergio, he said like, if you want to learn more about ayahuasca, you need to drink more ayahuasca. And it's to be able to have a level of internal stability and that the ayahuasca doesn't take you to the moon and back. Because I remember the first 20 ceremonies I did, there just like found so much internal turmoil. I was overwhelmed, feeling for the first time in such a long time. And if you are so concerned about what's going on within you, about yourself, obviously you cannot facilitate a ceremony. It's also something that develops in some and doesn't develop in others. Obviously, everybody has a different path with the medicine, with ayahuasca. And most people drink it obviously because they want to heal, they want to improve a certain part in their life. And once they do, they're happy and go back to their lives. And then for some others, there's like that calling to work more with the plant. I feel like a big part about facilitating ayahuasca ceremonies is about expanding one's own emotional capacities. Basically, after the first number of ceremonies, the ayahuasca isn't also strong on the body anymore. One gets more used to it. And also, after a certain period, the ayahuasca is more of a continuation of your previous ceremonies. For example, if I have a ceremony next week, most likely what I will experience in my ceremony will be a continuation of a topic that I'm working on. And of course, there's still ceremonies where it's a totally new aspect of the medicine, but it's more of a continuation. And also things that were in the beginning very scary, overwhelming, the more one sits with the medicine, the more one is raising one's emotional capacity to be able to handle stressful, fearful situations, whatever it might be. So things that what maybe would have overwhelmed me in 2 years ago, right now is a lot more manageable. So it's a lot about increasing one's emotional capacity. Another big question is, so why does everybody need to drink ayahuasca? I had a participant here once and I love what he said. It's like, I've been to those parties where the bartenders drink and then those never end well. But it's a lot different with ayahuasca. First of all, I think it's important to remember that this is how the indigenous tradition is. That everybody drinks ayahuasca, the shaman, the helpers, the people who are in the ceremony. And it's not that we come with our Western mind and now start to tell them how they need to be doing their ceremonies so I feel safe in the ceremony, but trusting in the process, in the wisdom that has been passed down for many generations. And it's less about control, but more about navigating it. And it's the more you work with ayahuasca, it's not you let the ayahuasca work through you, and then the more intense the state of ayahuasca is, the more you actually learn about the medicine. And the shaman needs to drink the ayahuasca to be connected with the energy of the plant, to be connected with the ceremony, to understand what the ceremony needs at that certain time, how to harmonize the energy, when to harmonize the energy with what tools as well. So to be able to connect with the medicine and to do a ceremony, you need to drink the medicine as well. There's a saying here, never drink with a shaman who doesn't drink his own ayahuasca. So when facilitating a ceremony, One thing that I always remember is that ayahuasca is my friend, that ayahuasca also wants to help me to do a good job, to be able to take care of people as well. Obviously, when drinking the ayahuasca, the intention is also to be attentive to people in their process. So, again, before I mentioned about controlling the ayahuasca, and it's not about controlling the ayahuasca, it's more about navigating it. It's more about where do you put your focus? Is it going inwards? Is it going outwards? It's about increasing one's level of awareness, what is happening, to also be activated with one's senses when something is out of balance, out of harmony, and to maintain that focus. And especially, again, in those states when it's the most difficult, that's when one learns most about the ayahuasca. And those are always, the times where you go to the end of your comfort zone, and that's again when your emotional capacity increases as well. Apart from that, there's also certain harmonization, certain energetic cleanings that we do. And it's very important to be very focused on the task at hand and not be all over the place with one's thoughts, which can be extremely challenging, especially when the ayahuasca is so intense. But I also feel like it's a level of training. The more you do it, the better you become at it. And obviously, that level of training also then translates to your day to day life, because if you're able to manage your focus in those intense situations, it's a lot easier to manage one's focus in one's day to day life as well. Another thing which is essential to facilitating an ayahuasca ceremony is to have one's own nervous system regulated. If I'm all over the place, if I'm nervous, if I'm hectic, like obviously I'm not transmitting the energy of calmness, of confidence as well. So to maintain that groundedness within, I remember a ceremony in my beginning journey when I saw somebody start to be disharmonized and I started to become a little bit nervous about the person. And after the ceremony, Sergio told me like, hey, that cannot happen, because if I would ask a person like, hey, how are you doing, but with a level of nervousness myself, and then the person, oh, I don't know, I'm okay. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, is that it's important that oneself is calm, cool, collected, also firm, but kind and compassionate at the same time. Out of ayahuasca ceremonies, one observes amazing changes in people that are happening. And it's easy to fall into the trap that I'm doing the healing and I'm this great shaman or healer or whatever. But in the end, all of that is stupid. Where the healing is coming from is through the Great Spirit, through the plants, the work that each participant is doing with themselves, with their own consciousness, their own maturity level, their own spirit that wants to develop. And all that we're doing is holding that space for the people to connect with ayahuasca. So it's very important to not fall into the trap as in like, oh, I'm this great shaman. Around the topic, we also pay attention that we are as little intrusive as possible. Again, the plant is doing the work, and if somebody disharmonizes, obviously there's ways to bring more balance, but to not engage in a 30-minute conversation, to not have a therapy session in the middle of the ayahuasca, but to keep on allowing the plant to do the work. Also, to not make comments as in like, oh, the ayahuasca told me that you need to heal your relationship with whoever, or you need to quit your job, or all that kind of stuff, but to allow each person to come to their own conclusions. Also, to not overprotect people as well. In the end, they drink the ayahuasca to be able to feel the ayahuasca and let the ayahuasca teach them. And if somebody's crying, it's okay. And it's good that they feel themselves again. It's good that they're able to release their emotions. So again, to remember to be as little intrusive as possible throughout the process. One last thing to remember is that all of this takes time. There's so many different layers to it. One might think like, oh, I understand how this works, and one might want to get ahead of themselves, or the ambition kicks in as in like, oh, I already know this, or whatever. But with the more humility one drinks, with the more patience one drinks, one realizes that there's like so much more to learn around even a topic that one believes that one knows a lot as well. So it's not something that happens within months. It's something that certain processes in oneself only matures over years and even hundreds of ayahuasca ceremony. Sergio even has a conversation with me every 2 months to remain patient. Even though when I'm patient, he's just like, yeah, no, but just to remind you. So it can be that, especially people from the West, they start to get over ambitious and start the point where they're at in their journey. And I think it's very important to realize that and to be honest with that with oneself, because with that honesty, one can learn from exactly the place where one is and not pretend that I'm up here or like this far and forget the basics around it. Also, the more one drinks ayahuasca, the more one understands the parallels between ayahuasca ceremonies and life itself as well. It's truly a remarkable journey of self-discovery, in a way, healing, self-mastery as well, which I'm very grateful to be on. It's very important to also have a teacher on that journey as well, that one is guiding, and it's a little bit like going out into the jungle. If you go by yourself, most likely you're gonna get lost and worse things, but if you have somebody who helps to show your path, you can discover all the beauties that the Amazon has for oneself.